We say that in macroeconomics we want to focus on major phenomena such as unemployment, inflation, and a steady rate of growth in our GDP. If we think about that a little while, we'll know that first, those measurements are not very precise, and so we're looking for trends. We want to see continuing growth in GDP, ideally 3-4% per year, but it's not something you can control with real scientific accuracy. But you can look at the trend of which direction are we going and how fast, and begin to ask questions about what do we need to do. However, there are some other things perhaps we should keep in the back of our minds as we consider the field of macroeconomics. Macroeconomics is not static and it's not sterile. It's not simply theory. It's the study of policies and their results and how they affect the way we live. Here is just a sample list of some of the things perhaps we should consider, or at least keep in the back of our minds, as we work through macroeconomic theory and policies. For example, do we have an efficient economic system? Are there incentives in place that make businesses want to manufacture at the least possible cost so they're not wasting resources? That includes destroying resources, of course, like the environment. It's the same issue you and I have as individuals. Are we doing the best we can with what we've got? Are we efficient in our use of time, in our use of money? In macroeconomic theory, this is akin to, are we at or at least approaching the boundaries of the production possibilities curve? When you look around you in your everyday life and you see things like your recycle bin for your garbage, that's an indicator of efficiency, that we're trying to do more with what we've got. A second issue, and a huge one, too often not considered in pure macroeconomic theory, is the issue of equity. Now, equity is a normative issue. Do you recall what normative means? It means opinion, value-based. Equity means, is the system being fair? And of course, what's fair to me may not be fair to you. Well, we have to ask, are there participants in our macroeconomy who are being treated fairly in regard to what they contribute compared to what they take? Are there people in our economy who are not able to contribute? Maybe they're disabled. And what is the fair thing to do for those folks? What about the elderly? What about children? So fairness is an issue, and it's a very controversial one, but it's not something we need to ignore. A third issue is productivity, linked somewhat to efficiency. Efficiency talks about how well are we doing now. Productivity is, in a sense, how well are we doing now, but we need to get better in the future. As we increase our productivity, as each of us as individuals is able to produce more, based on better education, based on better motivation, based on our perception of a better opportunity for the future, as our citizens in general and specifically become more and more productive, then in producing more, there is more for us to share. Again, both individually and as a society. So we talk about what are the keys to increasing productivity in the future, and how are we doing with those particular keys today. Another area, standards of living, very much allied with productivity. But we all want to keep in mind things like, what's the standard of health care in our country? Not just for the rich. How much health care does each person get? Yeah, we want it to be efficient, we want it to be affordable, but we also want it to be available. Are we touching on equity? I think for some people you would say yes. What about the care of our elderly when they are no longer productive? What about child care as we're raising children and we want to keep them secure, but we also want to educate them and socialize them? What about our standards of housing? Do we want to keep those at some minimal level? And if so, what do we need to do about that? Another area, and one that gets a lot of play in political circles, freedoms. As we build and operate our macroeconomic system, what is its impact on our personal and economic freedoms? Now, personal freedoms might mean the right to free speech, the right to bear arms, the right to public assembly. Economic freedoms might be the right to start your own business free of too many restrictions. We all want to remember when we talk about freedom, so a lot of folks talk strongly about, well, I'm free to do this, I'm free to do that. We need to recognize that with freedom comes responsibility. To exercise that freedom in a responsible way and consider the impact of your free behaviors on the well-being of others. And then we get to examine the costs and benefits of various types of freedoms. What are the benefits of being able to, quote, bear arms, that is, own a weapon and carry it for protection? And what are the costs of having weapons available? There's a real debate there. But again, this should be the background that sort of informs our thoughts about the macroeconomy. A final one, and one most people are sensitive to, what is our macroeconomy doing to our physical environment? Are we destroying bodies of water by polluting them with agricultural runoff? Are we destroying our air quality through the production of electricity with unclean energy? So the thought behind this entire presentation is, yes, economic theory, macroeconomic theory is important. We need to learn it, but we need to inform our studies and inform our decisions with a consideration of some of the other things that are going on in our lives.